So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that there's more than one way to determine whether a project is particularly successful, whether it's accomplished its goal of making a huge amount of money, ingratiating itself into the community, and ultimately benefiting the reputation of the studio and the people in charge. I think in the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance, certain metrics were hit that are undeniably successful. Like, for example, their Steam numbers. Right now, the concurrent players for Kingdom Come Deliverance is over 256,000. That's great. The number of viewers, concurrent viewers for Kingdom Come Deliverance on Twitch is 113,000. That's very, very good. However, that's not the end of the story. You also have the game selling over 1 million copies according to the official Warhorse Twitter account. Again, it's great. Within the first week to do 1 million, yeah, that's pretty successful. However, that's not the only metric by which we judge success, is it? So all the people that are fans of this, you have every right to point out all of these different bits of information and say, this game is doing well. But the reason why I frame it in this way is because you coming to a video of mine and you saying, oh, this sold over 1 million, so therefore your critiques, your criticisms, all the things that you have to say are meaningless or irrelevant or don't stand up because obviously they're not working is just simply not true. And the way that you know it's not true is because, first of all, if this game were doing as well as you're saying, let me just get this out of the way. Streamers wouldn't be dropping this like flies. The most popular streamers are. Now, sure, it's got 113,000. 113,000. Most of the most prominent content creators aren't touching this anymore. Dr. Disrespect played it for about 4 to 6 hours, said it's not for me. Asmongold, again, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, played it for, I think it was a day, like less than a day. It was like 6 hours. Said, nah, not for me. I'm not really into this. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because while these numbers may be successful, I remember Skyrim, for example. When Skyrim came out, you couldn't get people to stop playing it. You couldn't get people to put it down. It was all anyone talked about. It hit the gaming industry and the gaming community like a freight train. My point here is that there are different metrics of success. There are different metrics, different tiers and stuff like that. This could have been one of the defining games of 2025, but unfortunately, the only thing that this game is going to be able to do is give a massive and complete win to the gaming press that hated the first game. The first thing that IGN did when this game launched was release this video. This was the first thing they did. And if you watch this How to Romance, they make it perfectly clear that to them, this is the default romance. This is the best romance in the game. They go out of their way to promote this and hype this up, and all of that is based on their desire to humiliate this game that once didn't do what they wanted. But Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has bent the knee in every way. In the first game, Daniel Vavra said, no, we're not adding black people. No, we're not adding homosexual relationships. They've done both. They've added in DEI language into the game. And it's really disappointing to see, but it's not surprising. And the reason it's not surprising is because the creator has completely and totally sold out to a group of people that have done things like this across multiple different franchises. We've seen this time and time and time again. And so I'm here before you yet again to talk about the reality that a movie can sell well. Captain Marvel sold well, quote unquote, but it killed the franchise. You notice there was no Captain Marvel 2? I remember back when Captain Marvel came out and Brie Larson was a thing, and you have these people saying, oh my God, look at how well it's selling. Look at how well it's doing. If it was so successful, where's Captain Marvel 2? Well, we got The Marvels, and that was a steaming abomination. You can only artificially prop something up for so long. You can create the perception of success in the short term, but ultimately, and I think this is going to be the effect of this game, the lying of Daniel Favre, the woke community managers, all of this other stuff that has been added into the game, the sodomy, the degeneracy, I think all of this is going to have a major impact. And so I want to show you part of this video from John Delarose, not a channel that I usually react to, don't know much about this guy. He's been on the internet a long time. But I don't know what he's been doing recently. But I do want to watch this. I do want to see what's going on. And I do think it's interesting, this topic, because some people are just saying, well, the numbers are all that matter. I think that the numbers do matter, but I also think the perception matters. And this game's reputation is not great. It's not great. People are quitting it. They don't really have an interest. They say, well, it's too long-winded. The combat is shit. I mean, there's a lot of stuff where people are like, yeah, this is not what I envisioned. This isn't, quote-unquote, the next Skyrim.
2, once we uncovered that the optional gay sex scene was really... Things got hot really quick for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 once we uncovered that the optional gay sex scene was really a optional grooming scene. 15-year-old Hans is the one that's getting just completely, you know how it goes. We don't have to elaborate on it, but it's disgusting. It's graphic, and this is what we've been saying all along. These are woke activists at Embracer Group inserting this kind of thing very intentionally into the game. They courted controversy intentionally while then calling everybody Nazis who replied to them. And finally, people are coming out there and saying something about it. I'm glad Melanie Mack is leading the charge here, who has commented on this both on a live stream with the Quartering and talking about what's going on X to help bring this to attention. It's made Endymion comment on it and more. And so it is getting out there at this point, and it's not looking good for the Warhorse Studios developers. Please smash that like and subscribe button and join us here as we talk about all things in video games. This is my Fandom Pulse Substack, where we've broken the story. We had the biggest day ever on our site yesterday, so thank you everybody who was tuning in to see what was happening on there. I'll put that link in the description below. It is where we do the journalism every single day. Please sign up, and I appreciate you for being here. So yesterday, the tides turned on the discussion of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, video game influencers learned that Daniel Favre inserted underage gay sex into the game. Melanie Mack eviscerated the developer with her comments on X, leading to the charge against evil LGBTQ grooming. It's been uncovered that the graphic scene depicting sodomy in the game actually shows a child engaging in it. It was revealed by IGN that the scene in question featured Hans Capon with the outlet writing on X, the medieval world of 1403 Bohemia can be a lonely and dangerous place, so why not make it just a bit more special by romancing everyone's favorite lord? Absolutely disgusting. This is exactly what the mainstream media like IGN stands for. This is why we fight it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why you don't put this stuff into games. First of all, it's disgusting and degenerate on its own. It has no place in gaming or in culture. That's my personal opinion. Some people can disagree, but I don't think it's a case of live and let live anymore. I think that in culture and in acts of PDA, I don't think that stuff should be tolerated or accepted. Now, to be fair, I'm sort of with the Japanese on this. I don't like PDA of any kind. I mean, hand holding is one thing, but when you see a group of people just like making out on a table when you're in public, yeah, I don't agree with that either. But the fact is that you have these people in the gaming press that are obsessed with this stuff. It's the number one thing that they think about. And so if you capitulate, if you give these freaks, these absolute demonic, degenerate, low IQ, absolutely repugnantly stupid individuals, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And so the answer is no. You don't get anything. And if you want to play this game of, oh, well, we don't like the gaming press, but there was sort of a choice if the developer wants to add sodomy into the game. If that's the standard that you want to run by, I have to say I disagree. I do. I don't think that it should be accepted. I don't think it should be acceptable. We have games that are focused on LGBTQ, and let them make them, but those games are awful. They're awful. I mean, you look at them, and just, there's no place in a medieval RPG for something like that. There's just not.
Telling the truth on our journalism site. Based on a codex from the first game, Hans is a teenager and his violent act takes place, and the entry from the codex for Hans Capon states that he was likely born around 1388, dying in 1419. Makes it clear he's underage. It states the underage son of Jan Jessic Patek and Hedvika of Dauba. And of course, the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's opening scene makes it clear the game takes place in 1403. This means Hans would be 15 years old if he was born in 1388. It's possible he could be even younger if he was born after 1388. The Czech website also notes that Hans Capon did not come of age until 1406. A machine translation states Jessic Patek, I can't pronounce these names, was already a 50-year-old man when his son Jan was born. He took refuge in Polna Castle and left Ratajczyk. Yeah, you can correct me in the comments. It's fine. Make fun of me. Dominion to his son Jan, who came of age in 1406. Vavra responded to this discovery. This is the wildest part as he gets into this. If you decide you want a love scene with Hans and KDC, you're committing pedophilia. Somebody said when he's 15 years old, you can't make this stuff up. And this was very weird. He said, imagine that women at the time were married at the age of 12 and had children. They also needed witnesses during first sex. So his argument here is it's totally cool that I put a 15-year-old graphic sex scene into the game because it's historically accurate. Now remember, this is the same guy that's inserting a black person into Bohemia Crow just to insert a black person.
This is the same guy that denied that Saudi Arabia had banned their game on sexual grounds. This is a guy that is now synonymous with being a compulsive liar. This is a guy whose reputation is mud. And so when you're taking in the success of something, that definitely is a contributing factor. How much damage did the marketing do to this IP? How much damage did the people behind the scenes do to this IP? How much of a reputational hit did we take? That is also a factor. And if it's not a factor for you, by your logic, EA making all that money on loot boxes would mean that loot boxes are okay. Because that's a metric of success. They made so much money on those loot boxes, therefore it's okay to do that. Because that's a success. Even though it's a disgusting, despicable practice, this shouldn't be anywhere near gaming. Just like the LGBTQ shouldn't be anywhere near gaming. You have to look at it in a much grander scale. The amount of money that somebody brings in is not the be-all and end-all. It is important, especially if you have like one of these Sony games that has like $1 billion budget. These things that balloon up into the hundreds of millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, money by itself is not a determinant of whether the game is successful. It's the perception. And this guy's perception, the perception of the game, I'd say it took a major hit. And I don't think it'll ever recover, if you want to know the truth of it.
Into it and created a great story around it. And this is what they're doing. They hide behind historical accuracy as a reason for their degeneracy. And then on the other end, they don't put historical accuracy in because remember the last time when he made one of these games, he actually said that there were no black people in Bohemia. And so that's why he didn't have them in the first game. So which way is it, Vavra? Is it historically accurate, or are you just trying to put in diversity, equity, and inclusion to an extreme? And you know this is what always happens. The LGBTQIA+, the plus always stands for pedophilia every single time. This is absolutely crazy. So this started making the rounds once we reported on it and going viral. Melanie went out and said, not only is this a gay game, but it appears to be a pedo game too. Porn always leads to this. It's demonic. Going viral with this pretty well, and then followed up on this as commenting on Vavr's stuff. And Vavra further actually made another comment on this. Somebody says, you're aiming for historical accuracy because childs could be killed. And he says, there's no children. So Capone is a child at the same time. Very, very weird comments on this level. He's the only child in the game, and you can have sex with him. That's a very, very weird thing. So first they normalize porn, then they normalize sodomy, then they try to normalize pedophilia. Can't you see all perversion leads to this? It all comes from Satan. And
he's not wrong.
Inserting this into our entertainment is a method of normalization. Wake up. And this is exactly what we've been saying all along. And so it's very, very obvious. This has been the intention the entire time from these people. This is exactly why we call it out here. This is why we're the first to call it out a lot of times. We don't just wait. I know, and I'm not accusing Melanie of this either. Melanie's been very...
So, yeah, we can take a look at the way that this guy has responded to this. We can take a look at the general attitude, the general atmosphere. Personally, I think that the game did irreparable damage. I had this game pre-ordered for day one. And it was due to the words and actions of Daniel Vavra that I canceled my pre-order. And I have no desire to play this game at all. And that's compounded by the fact that streamers are playing it and going, yeah, no. Like, I'm not even interested in getting in on, this quote-unquote gravy train. This is their livelihoods. And they're not even willing. They're like, yeah, no, it's not that interesting. I don't want to play it. That is definitely a game that's going to be a flash in the pan. If you have streamers that are playing this game for 6 hours and then ducking out, that's not the next Skyrim. I'm just saying. You don't have to like it. As the great Macho Man said, you don't have to like it, but you got to accept it. So, yeah, looking at this article, it becomes perfectly clear that there is a disconnect, that there is something deeply and profoundly wrong here. And so, this guy and this company have decided that principles are fine, but money is more important. Ingratiating yourself in the bosom, embracing yourself in the bosom of the gaming press, getting 9s and 10s out of 10s, letting them put this sort of smut, this sort of filth out there when the game first launches. Like, they frame this as though this is the most important romance option. If you actually watch this. My point here is that all of this is because this guy didn't have the balls to just say no. No, we're not allowing this degenerate filth in the game. It's going to be a pure medieval fantasy experience. Now, to be honest, from what I've seen, I probably wouldn't have liked the combat. I thought the first one was difficult and whatnot. But they say that they've made some changes, they've made some refinements, they've made some alterations. Um, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if there's enough there that would keep me engaged. But the fact is that I'm never gonna find out because I have no desire to play this game at this point. I mean, how do you take such a win, which was Daniel Vavra after Dragon Age the Veilguard, and coming up making that tweet? How do you go from that to where he is? That's absolutely wild. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.